All right, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? How is it going? I am Is There No One Else? And the video I am bringing you today, we are going to do a deeper dive into the off-balance changes for the new 5.3.0 patch notes. Now, as is always the case with these patch notes, guys, this is the first week of the PTS. Nothing is set in stone. I'm just providing the examples. I'm the messenger, take it for what it's worth. If you dislike it, go to the forums, provide your feedback on there why you don't like the change. I'm going to do my best to provide both sides as to why this is good and why this is bad. So I'm going to do my best, and then I'll provide my reasoning at the end for what I think about it. So with that being said, let's dive into it. Off balance now lasts 7 seconds from player sourced abilities and sets. Off balance is no longer reapplied to a target for 15 seconds once the original source of off balance ends. This cooldown is displayed as a debuff on targets once they are affected. So I set somebody off balance. They are off balance for 7 seconds. Once the 7 seconds ends, you have a 15-second window to where you cannot set them off balance again. Off balance is no longer consumed on targets from heavy attacks or abilities. So another huge change. So before, your medium weave or your heavy attack would, consume the off balance, and now they're basically saying the 7-second window lasts regardless. So however many abilities you can hit in the 7-second window, you get the 10% buff for off balance if you have, the exploiter passive in the CP tree. Note these rules may be irrelevant in some areas, such as that's the point of what it is. And so we are now on the PTS. And we are going to dive into what off balance is and what it does, and how D-swing is affected. So, as you guys know, in the last patch notes for Dragonhold, they changed D-swing to where it's no longer a stun; it provides off balance, and so it was a big change. So instead of the D-swing stunning and knocking people up in the air, you had to medium weave afterwards to stun them and put them on the ground. I did a whole video on it. I'm sure you guys watched it. Not a big deal. But that's what we've had to have for the last, patch. Now what they've said is if you set somebody off balance with a D-swing, if you hit them again, with a D-swing, you can stun them. And so we now have two sources for ways to stun somebody. So if we see, let's say the Scorpion is a bad guy, and we hit a D-swing. We can hit a D-swing, and we can do another D-swing for a stun, as you guys just saw there. We can still medium weave and get the stun that way as well. So if we wanted to D-swing and then medium weave, or heavy attack or whatever, we can still proc the stun that specific way. So, come on. So, there's two different ways we can proc it. Now, a lot of you guys are seeing this, and you can see that they increase the duration in between stuns by a lot. So you now have a 15-second cooldown. So what this means, if you were relying on D-swing for your stun, you have a 7-second window where you do 10% more damage, and it's no longer consumed. So that's a nice little buff. But you can no longer D-swing, set somebody off balance, and stun them whenever you want. You have to wait for the cooldown to end, and they're going to have a 15-second window to where you cannot stun them with an off balance proc with D-swing. And so that's the biggest issue currently. And so, like I said, I'm going to provide both examples. Currently, what I have on my bar is my normal setup for my Dragon Knight for open world PvP. I have Executioner, Camo Hunter, Rally, Noxious Breath, D-swing, and Take Flight. This is my typical bar setup. And so what I will do is I will D-swing, and I will provide an off balance, moving it to around half health. I medium weave into a leap, I shit on them, and I move on to the next target. That's just what you do as a DK. You destroy people. So in that way, that can still work. For 7 seconds, that can still work, but if you do not get the finishing window, you will not be able to CC with this for 15 seconds on that one person. So, for those of you guys that think that that's a big issue, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to switch from Camo Hunter to Turn Evil. I think that's the simplest fix. This way you have unblockable fear, and you can CC whenever you want. So if somebody's on a cooldown and they're block casting and you can't stun them anyways because you know they're perma blocking, you can stun them and you can drain the resources that way and apply pressure and do all that. Now, some people are going to be like, okay, well, Camouflage Hunter gives you 8% more damage. You know, if you hit from a shoulder or behind them, it procs Minor Berserk, so 8% more damage plus the Fighter's Guild ability. Turn Evil's also Fighter's Guild, so you still keep the 3%, but it's 8% if you hit somebody from the shoulder or behind versus, you get some of that back is what I'm saying with D-Swing. Because D-Swing off balance is no longer consumed, you have it for 7 seconds. You know, if you hit somebody with a D-Swing, you have 10% more damage for 7 seconds on that person. And in that way, you offset the loss of Minor Berserk. And so all of your abilities for that 7-second window will do 10% more damage from what I'm reading. And in that way, it's not that big of a deal. If you want the unblockable stun and you want to drain resources, that's fine. You can also make the case that if you're Xing, like let's say you're fighting 10 people or 8 people or whatever, and you're kiting around and you're waiting for your ultimate to burst them. I wanted to show this to you really quick. I'm going to wait for my rally to go down first, but the off-balance cooldown only applies to one person. And so when you have 15 seconds of cooldown immunity, that just means that the one person you're fighting you cannot stun with this. So if I come up to this guy and I set him off balance, I can medium weave and I can stun him. Just like that. If I want to hit somebody else, I can set them off balance and I can stun them. If I want to do it again, I can set this person off balance and I can medium weave and I can stun them. So you can continue, like if you're Xing, you can apply your burst to different people. And you can make a case that if you're Xing, and it will have to be tested thoroughly, like this is not something you're going to know until you get into a 1vx situation, but due to the fact that people have high healing, and if you're fighting a large group, you're typically going to turn and burn with your ultimate anyways. And so, if you don't have your stun for 15 seconds, I don't necessarily know if it's that big of a deal in those specific situations. You know, against a large group of people where literally you're trying to turn and burn, you're not going to really care too much about the stun. And so you can still D-swing, get the 10% proc, jump on somebody, run Camo Hunter, and do all that. It's when you run against somebody that's a little bit tougher to kill, where you're really going to want to try and drain their resources, where you're going to kind of feel like you need to fear them and stun them a little bit more. So, in my opinion, you know, like, from what I am seeing, you know, Turn Evil's the easy choice. You know, you get some of the damage you lose back from Camo Hunter potentially just by, you know, hitting D-swing and hitting with your combo when you set somebody off balance. So in that way, it's not that big of a deal. But also, in a vacuum, I don't mind that you have to run a CC on your bar. You know, I don't mind that classes have, you know, your spammable, your damage over time effects, your defensive effects, your heals over time, and your CC. I don't mind that those exist and that, you know, they're not attached to a spammable. But at the same time, the issue currently in PvP, in my opinion, across a lot of classes, is your bar space is very, very limited. And there are oftentimes, like on the weaker classes, where you just do not have all the skills on your bar to kill some people. You know, you wish you could run an execute, or you wish you could run Mage Light, or you wish you could run something else, but you can't because you literally need all the defensive abilities you already have on your bar. The other offensive abilities are more important, and you sacrifice something, and you know that you can't kill some people easily, and you just have to give that up because it is what it is. And I feel like this is the same way. I feel like, in my opinion, having the off-balance proc wasn't that big of a deal in open world PvP. You know, like being able to stun somebody with a medium wave, like I didn't find that to be problematic from an outnumbered perspective. It was very, very, like, if I'm just saying this from somebody that's fighting multiple people trying to CC me anyways. Whether it's a medium weave, whether it's javelin spam, whether it's 5 mag crows trying to hit me with vampire stun, whether I have night blades on me, jumping on me, trying to fear me, doesn't matter. I'm getting CC'd off of cooldown regardless. So whether or not it's a medium weave wasn't a big deal to me, personally. So part of me sees this in some ways as a buff. 10% buff to damage for 7 seconds is a huge window. So if you know how to apply burst combinations, you're going to hit 10% harder for everything in that window. From what I'm reading, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but 10% window for literally everything is a lot of damage. Like that, in that way, it's a buff. And it's 2% more damage than Camo Hunter, because Camo Hunter is only 8% with Minor Berserk, and you have to satisfy the condition from attacking from the side. This is just landing a D-swing. So in those ways, it's a buff. But if you're really trying to drain somebody's resources, you might want to slot Turn Evil. And in that way, you have an unblockable feat, you have an unblockable CC, you can drain stamina, you can make sure you ensure burst, and all those sorts of things. But there are going to be some classes that they're really going to have to give up something in order to run like that. And so I think that's where this kind of gets problematic, is the classes that are lacking, that can't really fit a stun on their bar, are going to struggle due to this change, because they can now no longer D-swing medium weave stun. I'm looking at Stam Sork specifically. Like, it's really tough to fit an AoE fear on your bar when you literally need everything else, So, because just the class damage dealing toolkit isn't very powerful. You're relying on D-swing to do most of your damage. It's not bad. It's just, it's just one of those things where it's like, you kind of wish your support skills would do a little more. That's all I'm saying. So I need to test this. I need to go into the PTS. I need to test some things. I need to try this out for myself. Personally, it's like one good thing for one bad thing. It's not bad. It's like a lateral move, essentially, in my opinion. So I wanted to hear what you guys think. Let me know. Thank you for watching, guys. Have a nice day.